Hi, I'm Thea, and I've struggled with bitterness and resentfulness towards my mother for 6 years. My mother and I always had not a very close relationship. I think a lot of that was riddled because she struggled with addiction, and I never got that nurturing love that you think a daughter should have. At the time, my calls from my mom consisted of a lot of late night arguments that usually resulted in hanging up on each other. Even though we were 3,000 miles away, I'd get that call at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and her just very intoxicated. There was one conversation in particular that we had over the phone that ended our me being her daughter. I spent a lot of years just getting really bitter and resentful. I just recall sending cards to her, Mother's Day cards or Christmas cards with Emily's and Heather's picture in them, and they'd returned unopened to me, and with big bold letters, returned to sender. She wanted to send me a message that I wasn't her daughter anymore. Those years were hard. The resentment and bitterness that I felt was like, this is not what a mother is. Like, I felt abandoned. And it wasn't until March of 2007, when I had my one day with Jesus, that things began to change. God just told me I needed to call my mother, and I just did not want to, but I was obedient, and I made that call. And I just said, "Hi, Mom, it's me. I just called to wish you a happy Mother's Day." And the first thing out of her mouth was, "You're not my daughter." All I could hear her was just cursing me and saying things that you thought a mother could never say to you. But Jesus just told me, "Dad, just tell her you love her. Just tell her you love her." And I'd say, "Mom, I love you." And the last thing that she told me at that conversation was, "What is wrong with you?" I put the phone down and I just began to weep because I could just see the image of Jesus in my mind when I closed my eyes, and I just saw him on the cross looking up at his Father and saying, "Forgive them, for they not know what they have done." At that moment, he took that bitterness and resentfulness from my heart. And all along, while I was thinking about how my mother needed to change, he wanted to change a piece in my heart. I had connect groups at my house, and I remember Pastor Matt preaching a sermon on forgiveness, and I had never shared the story with anybody about my phone call and what I had struggled through with my mother. But that particular day, I shared, and the next week I got the call from my mom, and her exact words were, "Thea, I hear something ringing. I don't know what it is, but it's telling me to call you." So from there on began a reconciliation process. And in 2016, December, we saw my mother make her decision for Christ at the Reynolds experience. And it just came full circle. And even though she's with him right now, he's not done. And I just look forward to the day that I can see that new creation, that mom that He made her to be. Then I think through it all that the one thing that God taught me through this is that step of forgiveness. Out of all the pain and suffering that you could have with when someone hurts you, you do have a choice. Not waiting sometimes for that one person to tell you sorry or that they wronged you, whether it's pride or resentment, the hurt and pain. That pain's poisonous. That day when I forgave, I just felt a peace that God gave me, that everything would be okay, and that one day my relationship would be reconciled with my mother.